Hello students, today we are going to revise the 7th chapter from our English textbook. The name of the textbook is Moments and the name of the chapter is The Last Leaf. Do you know who is the author of The Last Leaf? O. Henry. But O. Henry is not his actual name. O. Henry is a pseudonym. Pseudonym like pseudopodia. You know what is a pseudopodia means? Pseudo means false or deceptive, which is not true. So the pseudonym O. Henry is actually the name of an American writer by the name of William Sidney Potter. William Sidney Potter, he wrote under the pseudonym or the pen name O. Henry. His short stories are generally well known for their ready wit, gentle humor, and surprise endings. The surprise ending element is an essential element of O. Henry's stories. So, also in the story The Last Leaf, The Last Leaf is one of his masterpieces, one of his best stories. So today we are going to discuss about the story The Last Leaf. So it is autumn. You know what is an autumn? Autumn, fall, winter and summer, the four seasons in a European country. So autumn is a season when all the leaves from the trees begin to fall. See, these authors, these story writers, they are very symbolic in nature. He has chosen a season of autumn where things, especially the trees, seem to be lifeless. Gradually the trees, they become bare, they start dropping off their leaves one by one. So all the leaves of an ivy tree creeper have fallen except one. And in the story, why doesn't the last leaf fall? What is the reason? Why is the last leaf so stubborn? We will come to know when we read the story. The story is about two fast friends by the name of Sue and Johnsy. Sue and Johnsy were close bosom friends, but their friendship didn't develop from their childhood. In fact, it was a sudden coincidence that they happened to meet at a restaurant, at a small restaurant where generally a lot of people flocked that restaurant because it was very economical. Things were very cheaply available there. So all those struggling artists, all those people who were looking out for jobs, all those graduates and undergraduates who didn't have much money with them, they used to flock to this restaurant and occupy whichever seat was available. They had no choice of chairs. So Sue and Johnsy, they happened to share a table and they happened to order for the same foodstuff. Then when the order came, when they spoke to one another, they came to know that their likes and dislikes were similar. And they were following a similar profession, that is, they were aspiring to be artists, they were aspiring to be writers. So they decided to move in together. They shifted to a rented accommodation, a very economical one again. They chose a building which did not have many people in that. In fact, the only other person in that building was a man by the name of Berman. Berman too was an artist of a sort, but he was a failure of an artist. He wanted to draw a masterpiece, but he never could actually even touch the brim of the mistress known as the masterpiece of drawing, the masterpiece piece of art. But he had a great desire. He is an old man and has a very strong French accent. He is accustomed to drinking a toxicant drink made out of berries, and his room is generally smelling of that. But he is a defender at heart. He considers himself as the guardian of these two young aspiring artists, and he feels that it is his responsibility to take care of both of these young girls. What happens in the story? We'll come to know only after reading the story. So let's read the story. Sue and Johnsy, two young artists, shared a small flat. The flat was on the third story of an old house. Johnsy fell very seriously ill in November. She had pneumonia. She would lie in her bed without moving, just gazing out of the window. Sue, her friend, became very worried. She sent for the doctor. Although he came every day there was no change in Johnsy's condition. One day, the doctor took Sue aside and asked her, "Is anything worrying Johnsy?" "No," replied Sue. "But why do you ask?" The doctor said, "Johnsy, it seems, has made up her mind that she is not going to get well. If she doesn't want to live, medicines will not help her." So see how concerned her friend Sue is for Johnsy. Both Sue and Johnsy are artists. They are sharing the same room, a same flat. They are on the third story of an old house, and Johnsy suddenly falls ill. The reason why she falls ill, because they had chosen a house which was facing towards the north. Maybe it's not mentioned here in this story, but they had taken an apartment facing north, and the north wind is a very cold wind, and these people, they were struggling with life. They hadn't adequate warm clothes to keep themselves warm. They had the meager things required to stay alive, few utensils. Even the paint that they had was borrowed, was taken on a loan. They were not able to pay the shopkeeper the amount of the paint. They thought that when they would complete an assignment, if the drawing is published in the magazine, they will get money and then they will repay it. So they were staying in a place where mostly poor people lived, and it was not Johnsy alone who was sick. There were many other people of this locality who were being affected by pneumonia, and this doctor used to make a regular visit in this locality because of so many people suffering from pneumonia. Johnsy was just one of them. So he tried his best to give Johnsy the medicine. It is not that pneumonia was incurable. Pneumonia could be cured, but there has to be a resistance to the disease from the side of the patient. And here the patient Johnsy was not resisting the sickness. And that is why the doctor wanted to know whether there's something wrong with Johnsy. Has someone broken her heart? Because it seemed that she had no desire to live. When does a person has no desire to live? When that person feels that there is no worth living. When everything he or she has seems to be lost, at that time the person feels like giving up on life. Everything around seems useless. So at such time, only a very close friend can help. Only a person who knows that person very well can talk that person out of this depressed situation. So what we see here is Johnsy is quite depressed and she is not willing to fight the disease. That is why the doctor asks Sue whether uh, something was worrying Johnsy. One day, the doctor took Sue aside and asked her, "Is anything worrying Johnsy?" "No," replied Johnsy. "But why do you ask?" The doctor said, "Johnsy, it seems, has made up her mind that she is not going to get well. If she doesn't want to live, medicines will not help her." See how important it is to think positive. It is rightly said that 90% of the illness is in our head. If we think we are sick, we are sick. If we think we can overcome the sickness, we can. So Johnsy here had given up. She didn't want to uh, get cured from this illness. She was waiting, in fact, for the last moment of her life to come. Sue tried her best to make Johnsy take an interest in things around her. She talked about clothes and fashion, but Johnsy did not respond. Johnsy continued to lie still on her bed. She brought her drawing board into Johnsy's room and started painting. To take Johnsy's mind off her illness, she whistled while working. See what all her friend Sue is trying to do to get Johnsy's mind off the sickness. She spoke to her about fashion. Johnsy liked a lot to be updated with the latest fashion that is going on in Paris. So they spoke about the latest fashion, but uh, Sue spoke about the latest fashion, but Johnsy did not show any interest. She seemed to be a part of the bed, like we have a bedspread, we have a cushion, we have a pillow, and Johnsy was an accessory on the bed. She did not even stir on her bed. She just lay there still as if she is a part of the bedding. So, to create more interest in Johnsy, Sue went and brought her painting material. She was an aspiring artist. She went and brought her painting material and began to paint. And she began to paint in the same room where Sue was sleeping. And she was whistling a tune so that she would like to distract uh, Johnsy's mind away from the thought of death, away from the thought of sickness. Sue brought her drawing board into Johnsy's room and started painting. To take Johnsy's mind off her illness, she whistled while working. Suddenly, she heard Johnsy whisper something. She quickly rushed to the bed and heard Johnsy counting backwards. She was looking out of the window and was saying, 12. After some time, she whispered, 11, then 10, then 9, 8, 7. Sue anxiously looked out of the window. She saw an old ivy creeper climbing halfway up the brick wall opposite their window. In the strong wind outside, the creeper was shedding its leaves. So, when Sue was painting a picture in the room where John C. was resting, she suddenly heard John C. say something. So she attentively tried to hear what John C. was saying. Then she heard John C. was counting and she was counting backwards. She wondered what she was counting backwards. She went to the window and looked out. She saw that there was a creeper. The creeper was creeping along the brick wall of the opposite building, the building that was opposite their window. And there was a strong wind blowing, and the creeper was shedding its leaves one after the other. So, what was John C. counting? She was counting the number of leaves left on the window. What is it, dear? Sue asked. 6, whispered John C. They are falling faster now. 3 days ago, there were almost 100 leaves. There are only 5 leaves left now. It is autumn, said Sue, and the leaves will fall. When the last leaf falls, I will die, said John C. with finality. I have known this for the last 3 days. So somehow John C. associated the falling of leaves with the time she had left at hand to live. She felt certain, she felt sure that when the last leaf will fall, she will also drift away to oblivion. She will also die with the falling of the last leaf of the ivy tree, which was really, really very unrealistic, because falling of leaves during autumn is natural. That is what Sue tried to explain to her. She said that there's nothing uncommon about the ivy tree, the ivy creeper shedding its leaf because it is autumn season. But John C. was adamant. She said, when the last leaf will fall, I too would die. Oh, that's nonsense, replied Sue. What have old ivy leaves to do with your getting well? The doctor is confident that you will get better. John C. did not say anything. She went and brought her a bowl of soup. See here, Sue lied to John C. And what lie did Sue tell John C? Sue told John C. that the doctor is confident that John C. would get better. In fact, what did the doctor say? The doctor said that it seems that Sue has left all hope of living, and a doctor and a medicine cannot do much if the patient does not desire to live. Yet, to get the positivity into the minds of Sue, into the mind of John C., Sue told her that the doctor is confident that John C. is going to get better. And she went and brought chicken soup, some soup for John C. I don't want any soup, said John C. I am not hungry. Now there are only 4 leaves left. I want to see the last one fall before it gets dark. Then I will sleep forever. See, she doesn't even want to have a bowl of soup, a bowl of broth. She says that there are just 4 leaves left on the ivy creeper and she wants to see the last one fall, and when the last one fall, she would go off to sleep forever. Sue sat on Johnsey's bed, kissed her and said, "You're not going to die. I can't draw the curtain for I need the light. I want to finish the painting and get some money for us." Sue had the option of drawing the curtain from taking away the attention of Johnsey looking at the leaf, but she said that she could not do that. Why? Because she had to finish a painting. She had an assignment at hand. She had to make a cowboy riding a horse for a magazine, and she was drawing that in ink, in black ink, and she needed the light to finish her painting, and so that she could get some money and she could buy something for both of them. "Please, my dear," she begged Johnsey, "promise not to look out of the window while I paint." "All right," said Johnsey. "Finish your painting soon, for I want to see the last leaf fall. I am tired of waiting. I have to die, so let me go away peacefully like one of those poor, tired leaves." "Try to sleep," said Sue. "I have to paint an old miner. I will call Berman up to be my model." Now, when she heard Sue saying that she wants to die peacefully, at that time she lost hope, and the only person she knew who could help them was old Berman. And that is why she went to old Berman. Old Berman was actually an artist, but nowadays he was posing as a model for the aspiring artists because he had a flowing beard like Moses. Do you all know who's Moses? If you don't, then you watch the movie 10 Commandments. It's a beautiful movie. In that, you will see a biblical character, Moses, with flowing white, snow white beard. So Berman had a beard like Moses, and though he was short in stature, but his facial features was quite good. So Sue says, "I'm going to call Berman to pose as a model because I want to make an old miner." She rushed down. Berman lived on the ground floor. He was a 60-year-old painter. His lifelong dream was to paint a masterpiece, but that had remained a dream. Sue poured out her worries to Berman. She told him how Johnsey was convinced that she would die when the last leaf fell. "Is she stupid?" asked Berman. "How can she be so foolish?" "She is running a high temperature," complained Sue. "She refuses to eat or drink, and that worries me a lot." "I will come with you and see Johnsey," Berman said. They tiptoed into the room. Johnsey was sleeping. Sue drew the curtains together and they went to the next room. She peeped out through the window. There was only one leaf on the creeper now. It was raining heavily and an icy cold wind was blowing. It seemed as though the leaf would fall any minute now. Berman did not say a word. He went back to his room. Johnsey woke up next morning. In a feeble voice, she asked Sue to draw the curtains back. Sue was nervous. She drew back the curtains very reluctantly. "Oh," Sue exclaimed as she looked at the vine creeper. "Look, there is still one leaf on the creeper. It looks quite green and healthy. In spite of the storm and the fierce winds, it didn't fall." So Berman came when Sue complained to Berman about Johnson's strange desire, Johnson's strange association of her life being connected with the falling of the ivy creeper's leaves. He came and he saw that really Johnson was very very sick, and he saw that the ivy creeper had just one last leaf left. So he went down, and that night it rained, and there was a cold wind blowing, and Sue was certain that by morning the leaf would fall. So when Johnsy woke up in the morning, the first thing she asked was to open the curtains, to draw back the curtains. Sue was reluctant to do so because she felt that the last leaf might have fallen in the night time, and with the falling of the leaf, she would lose her friend. But reluctantly, when she drew the curtain aside, lo and behold, that last leaf was still there, stuck to the wall. It had a glint of freshness, it had a hope, a ray of light. It showed that if you stick on with determination, you can overcome any storm in our life. No matter what storm is there in our life, you can easily overcome it. And she saw that the leaf had not fallen. She said, "See, the last leaf is still there. It did not fall." "I heard the wind last night," said Johnsy. "I thought it would have fallen. It will surely fall today. Then I'll die." "You won't die," said Sue energetically. "You have to live for your friends. What would happen to me if you die?" Johnsy smiled weakly and closed her eyes. After every hour or so, she would look out of the window and find the leaf still there. It seemed to be clinging to the creeper. In the evening, there was another storm, but the leaf did not fall. Johnsy lay for a long time looking at the leaf. Then she called out to Sue, "I have been a bad girl. You have looked after me so lovingly, and I have not cooperated with you. I have been depressed and gloomy. The last leaf has shown me how wicked I have been. I have realized that it is a sin to want to die." Sue hugged Johnsy. Then she gave her lots of hot soup and a mirror. Johnsy combed her hair and smiled brightly. See, the mirror is symbolic because now Johnsy wanted to tidy herself up. She had nice hot soup, the first sign of health. She regained her sense of the desire to live. So the first thing she required nourishment, and the second thing she required was self-esteem. If you do not respect yourself, nobody else would respect you. Forget about it that anybody else should respect you if you do not respect your own self. To respect your own self, you have to take care of your own personality. The way you carry yourself, the way you look, the way you talk, the way you walk. Do it for yourself, if not for others. So here Sue brings Johnsy soup and a mirror, and Johnsy tidies herself up. Sue hugged Johnsy, then she gave her lots of hot soup and a mirror. Johnsy combed her hair and smiled brightly. In the afternoon, the doctor came and examined his patient. He told Sue, "Johnsy now has the will to live. I am confident she will recover soon. Now, I must go downstairs and see Berman. He is also suffering from pneumonia, but I'm afraid there is no hope for him." The next morning, Sue came and sat on Johnsy's bed. Taking Johnsy's hand in hers, She said, "I have something to tell you. Mr. Berman died of pneumonia this morning. He was ill for only 2 days. The first day, the janitor found him on his bed. His clothes and shoes were wet and he was shivering. He had been out in that stormy night. Then they found a ladder and a lantern, still lighted, lying near his bed. There was also some brushes and green and yellow paints on the floor near the ladder. Johnsy dear, said Sue, look out of the window. Look at the ivy leaf. Haven't you wondered why it doesn't flutter when the wind blows? That's Berman's masterpiece. He painted it the night the last leaf fell. So here what we see that the real hero of the story is an old painter who had a desire to paint a masterpiece, who considered himself the guardian of these two aspiring artists. And he proved both. He proved he was a master painter and he proved he was a guardian. He realized that the ivy leaf would soon fall, and that is why he had walked out of the house of Sue and Johnsy, and all the while he was keeping an eye on the leaf. And when the leaf fell, this old man, in the cold of the night, with icy cold water falling, he climbed up a ladder on the opposite wall, and you can imagine how he might have painted the last leaf, which looked so similar, which looked exactly as an ivy leaf, that even these two aspiring artists could not make out that it was a painting. A lantern and a plate in his hand where he mixes his colors and painting a leaf while it was raining. What a great artist he might have been. So he finally makes his masterpiece, but not on a canvas, but on a brick wall by the side of an ivy creeper, as if the leaf was attached to the ivy creeper. In doing so, he has risked himself to the element of nature, and being sick and being old, he soon falls sick. He becomes a patient of pneumonia himself. He was found by the janitor the next morning, shivering in cold. It was too late to save him, and he dies of pneumonia. So this is the story. This is the end that I was talking of, the twist in the tale of the story, which is a trademark of O. Henry. So what is O. Henry's actual name? William Sidney Potter.